Holy snapdragons, you guys. It's been, again, I apparently need to make a sacrifice to the tech gods because holy sweet shit. Um, all right, let's see. Let me make sure that y'all can hear me at least, because hopefully you can, but the way technology has been today, yeah, okay, cool. That's all I needed. I just need to know that you can hear me. All right, so actually I will pull that back up and leave the volume. That way. Okay, that way. Just in case you comment, it's there. All right, so let's do this. Tuesday Tales. Welcome, welcome. We have 20 minutes. I will start the timer from, when we actually started. All right, so last week, and I put my pony back so I didn't knock him over all the time. Last week we talked about the preflex system. We talked about how the ligaments and tendons of the body really help, and the force of the ground beneath the feet, all right, really move the body. They are the base foundation level of movement. Today, we're going to not sidetrack, but kind of like side quest. Um, the Olympics, am I right? Okay, so the Olympics and all the stuff going on with it's just been like a thing, really. Thank God people are becoming more aware of horse welfare and what is suitable and what is not suitable in terms of what we expect from our horses and how we treat them and how we ride them. And I know that a lot of the attention has been going to dressage, maybe a little bit of the jumping, but we see it the most in dressage, and it stretches out the minutes, right? So these bad frames, this how do I want to word this? But like basically just this unnecessary treatment of the horses, this requirement for them to go in ways that they are not meant to go. Um, we see that more easily in dressage because they're only doing flat work. So whereas with jumping or even reining or cutting, we can say that these are bad moments, right? This is just a moment in time. And that is true. And that happens to the best of us because as our horses are learning how to carry themselves, it is easier for them to cheat and to come a little bit behind the vertical and to not round their back up and bring their hind end under. So it is easier for them to have these moments where they're like, this is really hard. I think I'm going to duck under, I think I'm going to duck this pressure and let my body lengthen and just take the easy way out, right? And I think we've all probably done that in physical labor. And what did it get us? Usually it gets us an injury. And the same will happen to them. So, on that note, I do want to say that this happens in all disciplines. I see this shit in Western all the fucking time. But we aren't seeing Western top levels broadcast for the entire world to see like we do with the Olympics. Okay. And I'm not saying there's not like Western Olympic stuff. I don't even know. Okay. Like I'm not saying that. I'm saying what's front and center right now is the dressage team, is really dressage across the board. And that could also just be because my news feed's like, hey, dressage, eventing. I'm just saying. But when I go to shows, when I actually put myself into the Western world, I see it. I have not necessarily seen it as much as the upper levels, but in my defense, I don't watch a lot of the upper level Western competitions. So I just want to make it clear, though, that I'm not nitpicking at one discipline. And even if I was, like, it's the disciplines that I'm closer to, and it just needs to be fixed. I'm here for the horses. I don't give a shit what kind of saddle you ride and what kind of brat I do, because it should be a fitting, properly fitted saddle. It should be a kind and properly fitted bridle. Okay. But like, I don't care discipline wise what the fuck you do, as long as your horse is well cared for. Okay. That being said, today I want to, because I got Zoom to work, I want to show you some pictures, talk about some things. I shared a post about some of the dressage stuff that is going around, the behind the vertical stuff. It's not even just dressage, right? I don't think it was. But it was a picture of all these horses at upper levels being ridden behind the vertical. And so let's talk about it. Let me, before I share my screen with you, let me actually find my pictures so we're not like going through Margaret's computer on the internet. You would get to see how nerdy I am with my background is cartoon ponies. They're pudgy ponies because I've never been able to draw real horses. I just draw pudgy ponies. If you have not seen one of my pudgy ponies, you are in fact missing out. Okay, what do I want? Where do I want to go? Oh, it's probably in this folder. Tis indeed. Tis indeed. Okay. So this is not a perfect image because we're not straight on. So one of the things that you will have learned from me if you have participated in this group, which by the way, so many of you have joined this group. I love you so much. Thank you for joining. To like when you fill out the questionnaire, you say that you're joining and you want to identify the root cause of your horse's pain. And I can share now. You want to identify that root cause and you want to make an action plan. Here's the thing. Nobody takes advantage of that. Nobody takes advantage of that. So here's the picture. But I'll wait. So nobody takes advantage of that. So in the featured section of this group, there is a post that explains to you what pictures to take and how to post them. And I will mark them up and we will identify what's going on in your horse's body. Yes, we can do this with posture. If you're new here, go to the guide section, scroll all the way to the bottom, the very last guide. I've done this for several people in this group. I haven't put them all in the guide section, but they're there. And furthermore, this is how Leanne became a body worker. Leanne Nelson is in this group. I call her out sometimes. She's one of my besties. She became my bestie because I was in a group with her and I helped her. Like we became close because I helped her with her horse. She is thousands of miles away from me in Canada. And I helped her over the internet like this. I marked up pictures just like this, just like I'm offering for you guys, and helped her find the root cause of the problem and helped her fix it. So if that's what you want for your horse, it's perfectly laid out here. I mean, whatever. It just takes my time. I don't get anything out of it except for the gratification of knowing that I've helped you, which I really enjoy. So feel free to take advantage of that. So bringing it back in, one of the things that you learn from me about taking these pictures, if you've actually gone through that process with me, or if you've done any of our little virtual clinics where we're talking about evaluation or building muscle, or if you've gotten my photo markup guide, which I will put in the comments of this video later. If you've done any of those things, you have seen me talk about, heard me say, when we are taking photos for evaluation, whenever we want to evaluate something, we need to be perpendicular to the subject, aka here's the horse, here's me. This just as much front of horse as back of horse is on either side of me so that I have a straight picture, and I need to make sure I'm holding my camera straight, not angling it down, not angling it up, not angling it this way or that way. We want to be straight. So when I show you this picture, it is not ideal because we don't have that. First of all, we don't get the whole horse's body, which is sad. But I'm going to show you the picture of what we're talking about, and we're going to find a full body picture and do more detail here. In this case, it's severe enough that we don't need to be, perpendicular to this one. So let's talk about it. This is behind the vertical, guys. If you cannot, if your horse's unicorn horn is pointing towards the ground, that is a problem. Your horse is behind the vertical. If your horse's pole is not the highest point in its neck, your horse is likely behind the vertical. And now I know Western, y'all go downhill. I love you guys so much. And it's going to vary a little bit. A lot of the places where I see the horses where in Western, where their pole specifically is not the highest point, they aren't necessarily behind the vertical. And I see them working really well and using their body in that position in reining and in cutting because the horse is head down and working. Now, in cutting, they're going to be more on their forehand sometimes because they're getting down and dirty, right? Now, in reining, they still manage to have lift. They just aren't as collected in the neck, and that's totally fine. I'm not picking on that. My concerns here when we're talking about having the pole at the highest point is this, exactly what we have going on. Instead of the flexion coming from the pole, which is what we're looking for, we always want, so whether you're English or Western, this is relevant, okay? Because no matter what you're riding, we want flexibility and softness in the pole. In the pole, you guys, not here. And this is not flexibility and softness anyways. We want flexion to come from the pole because that allows the horse to steer with their head. Also, because there's a direct correlation between what is happening here in the pole and in the jaw as to what is happening in the pelvis. If it is compromised in the pole, it is compromised in the pelvis. Just in case anybody was wondering, the pelvis definitely controls the drive and power of the horse. It's the engine, right? So when we are riding in a way, and this is again, not only to the dressage that we can see that's happening here and obviously double bridle and all the things, okay? I see this happening with Western pleasure, with Western equitation, with saddle seat riders, with hunt seat equitation. Like everybody just thinks that this is pretty, and the horse is submitting. And I see a lot of tension. I see an open mouth, a horse struggling. I see tension around the eyes. I see broken at C2, between C2 and C3. Now, where is this relevant and tie into our preflex system? Again, what's happening with the tension in the pole and the jaw is going to travel all the way back to the pelvis, but also, let's see if I have the picture. Wouldn't that just be helpful? Let me see. I have a couple actually. Here, this one. I think I need, stop share here and start again. Oh, I didn't open it. That's my bad. Hold on, guys. Technology sometimes is me. Sometimes it's me. I'm the problem. I have to double click and it opens. All right. Now we're ready. So when we were talking about the preflex system last week, we talked about, make it bigger for you. We talked about the ligaments and the tendons that were responsible for that basic foundation of motion. Okay, this is ligament. Okay, all this is that knuckle ligament. It's very big. It attaches to all the vertebrae and it comes up across the top. And this ligament, while it changes names, is connected from head to tail. Okay, so when we're stressing the front, the back is obviously also getting stressed. So when a horse is coming behind the vertical, as in this picture, we get a lot of tension and strain at the pole, but also one of the things that happens is damage here in the nuchal, however you want to say it, ligament. It can get to the point where it pops back and forth because it's tight all the time. It's not comfortable. It's not good. It's bad. So when we're talking about that preflex system, we're talking about how all of the ligaments and tendons are supporting the skeletal apparatus, if you will, and the way they're connected creates the foundation of movement. What do you suppose, like we know that requires elasticity. So what do you suppose happens when we create an abundance of tension like this over the back of the neck? Top of the neck, whatever. Well, we lose that elasticity over the top of the horse, which is going to prevent the horse from being able to really use its body. So as soon as we bring that horse behind the vertical, and this is something like, again, a moment in time, you're training a young horse, they're going to come behind the vertical occasionally. We push them forward, and through that, we encourage them to keep trying and to keep using their whole body. When we train behind the vertical and we think, oh, it's so pretty and we're doing it so right. And I can joke about it and say it like this because I've done this shit, you guys. Like, I'm not infallible. I'm not saying this to you because I've been perfect my entire life and I understood all of this from an early age. No, no. I'm saying this to you and I have this attitude about it because, yeah, we all just skipped around thinking they're so pretty. We're doing such a good job when we were looking at their head. As soon as we widen out the photo, right? As soon as we zoom out, we can see how it's affecting the hind end. Let me see if I can find one of those pictures. But anyway, when we bring them back like that behind the vertical, we end up restricting movement in the hind end and through the entire top line. So everybody out there is running around doing the whole like, I'm a build top line, I'm a build top line. Do you though? Because you're not. Like you're totally, the way you're riding is inhibiting top line development. Not only that, not only is it inhibiting top line development, but you are causing the damage. You're causing the problem. You are this is a great picture. Let me just switch us over because this is gonna exactly where I'm headed. This is gonna exactly where I'm headed. Let's do this one. Okay. So when you are riding like that and coming behind the vertical, and this is the jumping, see? You are not just inhibiting what's going on across the top line. You are inhibiting the entire body. Everything is connected. So one of the things that happens when we inhibit the top line, when we inhibit the ligaments across the top line with riding behind the vertical, is we end up with less elasticity and lower, this is just the simple way of putting it, like lower fetlocks for a longer period of time through ranges of motion. So in this horse in particular, he's behind the vertical. He's hollow through his back. And look what's happening. He's trailing out behind. This is not a well-collected horse. Okay. The other thing that's happening is we can see that his fetlocks are very low. Is that natural through gait? Yes. Is this the best example? Probably not. If we were watching him move, we might be able to see this a little bit differently, but this does impact the long-term health of lower leg joints and ligaments, tendons, etc. Okay. Because the whole body's not working together. So I was actually just talking to Leanne actually earlier. We were talking about exercises for bringing back top line, specifically trapezius muscles. And that's, I'm not even gonna. I was gonna start going there, but we have only a few minutes left. And so therefore, I'm not going to do that. We are going to talk about what healthy backs are, but we are talking about the trapezius muscle. The trapezius muscle sits behind the withers and is often a place where we find these wither pockets, and that is atrophied muscle. A lot of times that comes from poor saddle fit. It can also just come from the horse hasn't been worked, right? Or it can come from illness, or it can come from poor nutrition, all the things. We were talking about building up the traps. And here's the thing. In this case, the horse that we were talking about did have poor saddle fit. And so he has some damage to his trapezius muscles, his thoracic trapezius muscles, to be specific. And so Leanne was talking about, yes, pull work. Is there something more that she could be doing? Leanne's always asking that question. She's amazing. She's always like, what more can I do? So we talked about, well, it's not just the trapezius, right? Even though this horse has a damaged trapezius from poor saddle fit, when the trapezius couldn't do its job, the body said, whoa, we have a malfunction. Houston, we have a problem. What can we do? Who can we call in? Who's the reinforcements that will take over this job? And this is going to look different for every horse because every horse has different situations in their body, just like you do and I do. We all have these different compensation patterns and different responses when things aren't working the way they should. So when the trapezius doesn't respond to the call to action of like, we need you to participate in moving the front legs and the shoulders, the scapula, we need your participation in lifting the scapula up and back. And the trapezius is like, hey, I'm off duty. I can't do my job. I'm pinched under the saddle here. another muscle has to overwork. And when that muscle overworks, it calls in on other muscles too. So when we are overflexing, when we are coming behind the vertical and tensing all of the muscle, like all the ligaments up here and straining them, not because they're getting tighter, but because they're stretching out further, right? They're stretched to their max. Other muscles have to do the job of holding shit together, which causes a lot of tension and restricts movement in the chest. And that restricted movement in the chest is going to restrict movement, instead of, because the top line is getting contracted through, stretched over the neck, contracted through the back, right? Stretching here, contracting there, stretching under the stomach because they're not rounding up, they're hollowing out. That stretches the stomach, that throws the legs out and causes tension in the lumbar region. It's all connected, you guys. It's all connected. So when we're looking at the front end of the horse and we're like, oh, it's not pretty. It's not. One, it's not. And two, we're causing a train effect, a chain reaction throughout the horse's body. So we're causing a whole slew of issues. And it's preventing you from building a top line. But it's not just preventing you from building a top line. It's preventing you from building a bottom line. Because, right, what did we just say? The stomach is actually, like, from front to back, right? From the pecs all the way back to the hind end, the stomach is elongating. It's like a pregnant belly, right? We get that all stretched out. We have that, what is it, rectus abdominis? No, is that a muscle or whatever that's called, where your abdominal muscles spread apart during pregnancy and you have to work really hard to get everything to come back together. Yeah, well, it causes kissing spine to have them in that arch position for so long, blowing their belly out and super stretched. And that is all coming from this, bringing their chin to their chest. It arches their back. Do it yourself. Chin to your chest, so you naturally arch because you're stretching here, you're contracting here, you're tensing here, your lower back compensates. So there's all kinds of problems that we're causing with that. When you're saying I want to build a top line, you don't just want to build a top line. In fact, what you want to do is you want to build the underline, the underline, the dorsal line, and the ventral line. Okay. We're talking, we want to build the underside so that it can be strong enough to crunch and contract and allow the muscles on the top of the spine from side to side, if my nose were the spine, right? We're building up those ligaments and those muscles to be suspenders. Your horse is in suspension. Your horse is a suspended object with all of its tendons, ligaments, muscles, and myofascial stuffs. Okay, all the soft tissues are suspending the structure of your horse. Okay, so there you go. What questions do you have? Y'all said you wanted to learn about movement. Are we there? What do you want? Tell me what you want. Tell me what you want from me. And yes, we will talk about healthy backs, maybe next week, maybe not. Depends. Do you have more questions about movement? Y'all have questions about movement. What do you want to know? And if you're like, I don't know what I want to know, remember, that's fine. That's fine. I totally get that. We don't always know what we need to know, right? Because we don't know what we don't know. So if you don't have a specific question, that's cool. Why? Why do you want to learn about movement? I want to learn about movement so that I can better see indicators of lameness before they become an actual problem. I want to know about movement so that I can correct lameness after it's become a problem. I want to know about movement because so that so that I can totally nerd out because this stuff just totally gets me going. Like, that's fair too. So why do you want to why do you want to learn about movement? So that what? If there's something else that you want to know about, just drop it in the comments. I am here to serve you 20 minutes every Tuesday at 2 for Tuesday Tales. So get out there, do some pony shit, have a fantastic Tuesday, and I will see you next Tuesday.